Hello. By the time I get this out, it will be September, which of course is Shaketober in BookTube land. And what I've been doing for the run-ups in August for the last little while, last couple of years, I've been taking little dives into contemporaries of Shakespeare. But this Shaketube, things are a little bit more hectic around the old Shay household. So I decided I would do a look back at one of Shakespeare's influences instead. Influence of of Elizabethan theater of the time, and this is to go to Seneca the Younger. This is Lucius Annius Seneca, 14 BCE to 16 CE. 65 CE, Seneca the Younger, Stoic philosopher, and for my purposes, dramatist. We've got about 10 to 8 of his plays, depending on how much you think some of the plays are his or not. I am focusing on Medea, which seemed like one of his major plays. That's the one that I decided to pick up. Seneca as an influence on the Elizabethan playwrights. The idea of the 5-act structure, the themes of violence and revenge that are very much a part of Senecan tragedy, and which obviously really inform Shakespearean tragedy and also the kind of revenge plays that Shakespeare came out of. And also just the rhetoric. We'll get into this, but the rhetoric of Seneca really resonated with the Elizabethans. These are both times where people wanted to talk, and being able to talk well, to be to be able to make persuasive arguments, to be able to sway people was a big thing for Romans, and is a big thing for the Elizabethans. So this is two times of that flourishing of that sort of thing. Even though the Romans and Seneca weren't as much into the plays as someone like the Greeks, yet there is something about the spirit of the Roman time that really resonated more with the Elizabethans than the Greeks themselves, and Seneca becomes very much a part of this. So Seneca, as I said, his dates again going from 4 BCE to 65 CE. He was born in a province, Hispania, the modern day Spain, a province of Rome, but came to Rome because that's where the big stuff was happening. Was banished by Caligula, summoned back to be the tutor of Nero, and kind of rose up and was basically his advisor, his chief advisor, and wrote a lot of works that were like how to be a good ruler and how a great ruler would give mercy and all these sort of things for Nero, who has all his own detractors. And indeed, he seemed to try to oh, I'm going to retire now. I'm going to retire and try and step away from it. But even that didn't prevent him, retiring to his palatial estates. It's like, no, he got sucked in, implicated at least, whether he was guilty or not, in a plot to oust Nero, and was ordered by the emperor to kill himself. And he did, good stoic theater there of taking poisons and all the other stuff to do away with himself. He was a Stoic philosopher, and he got kind of taken up by Christians as sort of a proto-Christian. This is how he sort of becomes very acceptable for this kind of as a pagan writer, but is considered a writer that was sort of acceptable for Christians to kind of think about and read, which is perhaps why his plays were like, I think Phaedra was one of the first plays that was actually performed in this kind of in medieval times. And indeed, there's like a lot of debate whether Seneca's tragedies were actually meant to be performed or even recited. Maybe they were just supposed to be just to be read. But regardless of where that debate is, and there seems to be quite a back and forth in that, the Elizabethans most definitely performed these plays. They put them on. They dramatized them. and seem to catch that their subject matter and their language seem to really catch things. It was, I think, in the 1580s that the plays were actually translated into English, collected as a kind of 10 tragedies. What I'm going to be working with today is is actually a 1907, because this is the cheap channel. Translated by a 1907 translation by Frank Justice Miller, which is actually it's the Loeb Library's translation of it's one of an earlier translation of the Loeb Library's translations of where they have the Latin on one side and they have the English translation on the other side. Frank Justice Miller gave this translation, though it is apparently a fairly regressive one, very Victorian in its way. So it does. You'll have to take, my quotes kind of with a grain of salt, because I'm taking this from an old translation that's kind of got a Victorianized it's very organized, very much like a Shakespearean play. So, which is kind of an interesting kind of just a thing of re-refractions of stuff of somebody who's translating Seneca is obviously kind of got Shakespeare in the back of their head for maybe how they're putting this stuff down. So let's get into the play itself, Medea. Medea is one of these plays where that obviously Seneca is assuming a very educated audience, because it is jumping way into media res, because Medea is the helper of Jason and the Argonauts' fame of getting the golden fleece, and Medea, a granddaughter of the god Helios, uses her unearthly powers to assist in those labors. When they're fleeing kind of upset father, she cuts up her younger brother and throws his body into the sea to force the old king in his grief to stop to collect the body parts. She does really unnatural acts when they go back to Jason's place where his usurping uncle is. She using her guile gets his daughters to kill Peleus, because she turns him into a young man, and they're angered and they kill him. I don't know if they caught him up. They kill him. So all this happens. They flee to Corinth, where the play actually starts. They've had 10 years of living there. She has given birth to 2 sons. But at this point, King Creos has decided that no, there's like outside forces that basically are really pissed off at all the stuff that Medea has done for Jason, and he's decided that the best way to solve this thing is for Jason to divorce Medea and to marry his daughter instead. And Jason, a very weak character in this play, has agreed, and now that. And we're opening with Medea has learned this. This is how the play opens. We open with Medea learning, I'm about to get kicked to the curb after doing all this stuff for this jerk. And it's like, now that a mother's pains I felt, my larger heart must larger crimes conceive. So Medea, at the very start, you're introduced to Medea. She's learned this news, and she's gone, how could Jason prove so false in this area? It's like, now our Jason, because like Creon says to her, if now our Jason can unlink his cause from thine, 'tis easy his defense to make, for on his hands no stain of blood is found. It's like, wow, because Medea is considered this unnatural wanton in not a kind of a promiscuous sense, but wanton in a wild and disturbing sense of this woman who's done all these horrible acts, which Medea's like, I did all these horrible acts so that the great hero could do all his daring deeds and be like glorified for them, but I'm getting I am getting all the hate from this. And this really, this she is just gripped in this rage. It's like, no torrent stream, nor storm-tossed sea, nor breath of flame fanned by the gale can check or equal my wild storm of rage. My will is set on limitless revenge. And limitless revenge is something that, wow, that is something that you see in revenge tragedies, that you see a crime is committed, and then in these revenge tragedies, the revenge is like way out of proportion. It's like it's the boiling up of all the hate and anger and outrage that comes from this. Jason, who is such a dope in this, when you get to him, he basically sets things. He sets things out for her. I mean, to be fair to Jason, to be fair to Jason in this play, he says, but I fear no power that man can wield, but in my heart paternal love unmans me quite. For well I know that in my death, if he sticks with Medea, my children's fate is sealed. O sacred justice, if in heaven thou dwellest, be witness now that for my children's sake I act. Which, if you know the end of this play, it is ironic that he is saying, I'm separating myself from Medea and I'm taking the kids because this is the only way I can protect them, is how he is justifying his acts. And I mean, Medea really lays things out here of the long-sought fleece of gold I won for thee, whose guard the dragon huge was lulled to rest at my command. My brothers slain for thee. For thee old Peleus fell, when, taken by my guile, his daughters slew their sire, whose life could not return. All this I did for thee. In quest of thine advantage have I quite forgot mine own. And a little later, and I left for thee my native land, my brother, sire, my reputation, all, and with this dower I came. If now to homeless exile thou dost send me forth, give me back the countless treasures which I left for thee. It's like she is extremely wrong, and you feel kind of her righteousness in this, even as you're kind of sort of horrified by her pain. And I mean, and Jason's like, nay, curb thy fiery soul. Thy children, for their sake, be calm. And Medea is, my children, them I do refuse, reject, renounce. Which, I mean, that's one of the other just kind of the disturbing parts of of Medea, which you have to believe. You believe it even as it seems very unnatural. It's like, what's the most unnatural thing is a mother who is going to refuse, reject, and renounce her own children in her rage. I mean, it is both terrible, but also it's like, wow, that you can feel that. You feel that understanding, and the language helps you feel that understanding. Jason is such a dope though, because he's like, when Medea says, well, okay, well, let me take the children then. Let me at least have the children. Let me have the kids. Let me have these two sons. And it's like, Jason's like, my heart inclines to yield to thee, but love forbids. For these my sons shall never from my arms be reft, though Creon's self demands. My very spring of life, my sore heart's comfort, and my joy are these my sons. Which, it's like Jason is getting the paintbrush and painting the targets on his own children. And it's like, Medea's like, doth he thus love his sons? 'Tis well, then he is bound, and in his armored strength this flaw reveals the place to strike. It's like Jason is like, for the love of my children, I'm going to toss you off. And oh no, you can't have these children because it would kill me if anything was to happen to them. And Medea's like, of course I'm going to do this. what she's going to do. And I mean, and with Medea, this thing of Medea, it's interesting how in this, because Medea, I think, is known for poisoning a robe, a dress, and giving that to Jason's now betrothed, next intended, and that killing her horribly. That Medea's dress is like one of those famous imagery. She also gives a crown to Creon to kill him, and and in this thing, and off on the side we also say, oh, and she also kind of brews up this kind of fire which can't be doused by water. In fact, it burns even more and is burning all of Corinth. And this is a play which has a chorus in it, and the chorus is like, oh, hopefully she'll go away and we'll just have peace in Corinth, because having her here is just like, it's too dangerous. She's bringing danger to us. But it's like, in the very act of trying to shove her out, they doom themselves, which again, it's that, I think this is the things of like, of the tragedy is of like, of the thing of like all the stuff they do against Medea then turns around and that brings all of that down on them. It's like, this is it's an inescapable fate. I mean, Medea in this play, she argues, she at the beginning, she is super angry. She argues with Creon. She argues with Jason. And at the end, in kind of really what you have to see is kind of her soliloquy in this play. She argues with herself about, am I going to go through with this? Am I going to kill my own sons? And at least in this translation, it's like, that's really brought home of like, she is arguing with herself. These are long speeches. This isn't really back and forth. Like Shakespeare has long speeches, but they also has back and forth. This has very little of the back and forth, and there's much more long speeches, but she is having this dialogue with herself at the end of like, can I do this? And it's interesting that at the end of this play, where you think maybe she's not going to do it this time. Maybe you think, oh, maybe she's not going to do it this time. It's like, then that's when the specter, the spirit of her slain brother appears to her, and the die is cast, and the act is committed. And it's like that idea, the ghost coming back, the spirits, the death haunting us, is something that really comes up in something like Hamlet, where you have, Hamlet's father appearing in the play, and, how that propels Hamlet forward, and what is his thing to it. And, in the end, it's there's just it's one of these lovely things of, you can see, it's like, wow, the rhetoric, the themes of violence, of revenge, of having acts performed on the stage, like the deaths that happen on the stage are maximum impact, and you can see them being dramatized bloodily. Like this, I can see, like, even if they think this was only a recitation in Roman times, the Elizabethans dramatizing this, though the chariot with dragons carrying Medea away to a godless heaven is an interesting image. I wonder how that would get done on stage, but imagination, the imagination of stage. So yeah, that is my thoughts on Seneca's Medea. It's one of these lovely things where you can look at this and go, okay, I can see how the Elizabethans kind of came to this stuff and thought, wow, this is great. And the kind of the themes of power, of a king, kind of, because a lot of this is King Creon saying, I've declared this, and Medea having no recourse. And so Medea takes justice into her own hands, is very much a theme that the Elizabethans take up, of, there being injustices and there being no justice, and this unleashing kind of the savage passions of a human being. And it's, this is a mythic, this is using mythic subject matter, but Medea comes off as a very flesh and blood disturbing human being in this play, which is, you see a lot of those disturbing human beings in a lot of Shakespearean plays, which is what I'm looking forward to for the rest of this month. All right. More videos later, more videos on Shakespeare, hopefully coming up, unless I fall off my chariot and drown in the sea. We shall see. All right.